Well, hello, welcome to class. This is Ms. Groff, and I will be your teacher this semester. This video is to introduce myself, talk about grading, and hopefully answer some questions you may have about this class. So, again, my name is Ms. Groff. I graduated from UW Stout in Family and Consumer Sciences. I have a minor in business, and you see some of my credentials there. I have been teaching with eAchieve since 2015, and this year I will be teaching all the FACE classes. So previously I've been part-time. I'm pretty excited to teach all the classes this term. I also teach a couple of classes at Horning Middle School, and that's where I've been the last few years as well. So here's a picture of my family. Raised 4 grown kids, and I've got a beautiful little grandson that I very much adore. So there's his cute picture. And you'll see here some of my interests. And yeah, I can be a little spunky. There's a picture of me taking a cooking class. So I really love all things family and consumer sciences, things with cooking, baking, things with relationships and family and children. I like things about design and textiles, and I like to sew. I like health and fitness. So lots of things. I love to continue learning throughout my life and teaching, lots of face connections. So in case you are new, or even if you aren't and you didn't know, eAchieve is really a wonderful place for including some of these electives that aren't always offered. So those are the classes there. Middle school, we have both real and a food class. And then high school, you see lots of different choices. So co-op, if you don't know what that is, that's for seniors, and I also teach that. They are able to work during their senior year, and they earn school credit. So it's a pretty nice option. I did that in college for credit. So pretty nice to be working with that. And then you see my other classes there. So some tips for success, and actually I didn't update this. We do not want you to print out your PACE charts this year with all the new teachers. PACE charts are subject to change. So just be following your PACE chart and make sure that you attend e-sessions. All teachers across the board at eAchieve always can tell the students that are either attending or even watching the recorded e-sessions. So I know it's the beauty of eAchieve that you are able to flex your time and schedule things around your life. But if you can at all attend those e-sessions and ask questions and be joining in on that, that really helps. And again, if you can't, make sure that you're watching that week's recorded e-session. In the grading, I always can tell the students that have watched the e-session. We go through your weekly agenda, and I will help you with some of the expectations for the assessments, the summatives, and also provide some knowledge and learning that you need. So very important to do that. If you need any help, be sure to contact me. That is your lifeline for me. No question is silly or unimportant. The older I've gotten, the more I've realized that when you ask a question, it shows that you're engaged. It shows that you're thinking about what the expectations are and what you need, what supports. So be sure that you reach out to me. I do check email throughout every school day. I obviously will be tied up teaching some of the times during the day, but I check it throughout every day. When you email, make sure that you include your name in your class. I have hundreds of students literally and lots of classes. So make sure that your email includes both of those things and give some detail about what your question is. Tell me what assessment it is. Tell me what your question is. Just explain that really well. I know there's a netiquette resource in every single Blackboard course. Make sure you refer to that. It gives you some tips on writing an email. I also will tell you that it says something about you as well as in regard to how you compose your email or your message. If you're saying, "Hey, Ms. Groff," that is very informal, and school is actually formal setting. So, good morning or good afternoon or hello or dear, all of those things are better salutations. So, think about me being on the other end and reading that. And then again, remember if you're wondering something, make sure that you ask. So when you do your assessments, when you're writing, this is a good way tied to my field to think about how you're writing. Make sure you've got your introduction. Try to hook people into your writing by how you start out and introduce it. You can use some facts or some humor, some rhetorical questions, and then the bulk or the meat of your writing should be information and points. Make sure you've got at least three main ideas with facts, some information. You can include personal stories. I love it when you include personal stories that connect with what we're learning about. Really important, and show me that you're learning and that you're grasping the knowledge. And then make sure you have a conclusion. Round off what you're doing. No new information, but just sum it up, make it memorable. So that's a really good way to think of it. The grading policy for my classes is that your formative assessments are listed in blue on the PACE chart. And on the grade center, when you click My Grades, you will see the things that you've turned in. If it says in progress, that means that you've turned it in, but I haven't gotten to grade it yet. So again, I have hundreds of students, so it may take me a little bit to get to it. And so if you see in progress, that means that it's just waiting for grading. If you have a U that's unsatisfactory, that means that you should redo that. If you got a satisfactory, you pass that. So these are foundational. They help you learn. And so you have to take them. They're not counted as part of your grade, however. The summative assessments are listed in red on the PACE chart. Those are the ones that count toward your final grade, and every one of those must be completed in order to pass the class. So proficient, don't proficient means you grasped the material, you learned it, you've got it. Advanced means you went over and above the expectations and you kind of wowed me in some way or another. And then approaching means that you're learning it. You've almost got it, so that's good as well. If you see an incomplete, which is an INC, or an NEE, that means you did not pass. You must redo that assessment and you must resubmit it. So you've got to request a revision. So every time that you need to revise a summative, you must contact me by email and request a retake on the summative. That is because I have to go into the system and I have to allow for another attempt. So make sure you're very clear about what class you are in and what assessment you want to retake. And then the reason for it. Tell me what you did, um, that you need to redo, what steps you've taken to earn a retake, that kind of thing. If you need a retake, you must pass all of your formative work before you will be allowed to retake. I'll look in the grade center. And you may be required to do some additional formative assessments before you are allowed a retake. So all of that means do your best work the first time. That will save you time and effort and headache as well. It also saves me time as well. So make sure you do a good job the first time around. Another way that you can be successful is to plan ahead. Again, we're not printing out that PACE chart, but make sure you're following your PACE chart and then make sure you're always checking my grades. Last semester, even, I had a number of students that kept right up on pace and then they missed a few assignments and then they were right back on pace. And when we got to the end of the year, end of the term, I was wondering about why they had that gap. And I emailed them a few times, but that's your job. So make sure that you're looking in there. Um, you do get progress reports throughout the term. So that means I'll be going through the grade center. If you're missing anything, you will get a phone call to a parent you'll get notification, and there's a progressive chart that talks about if you are behind, significantly behind. So you want to make sure you're keeping up on the pace chart all the way around. That's the best way to do things. Also, another helpful hint is to look at the rubrics before you start on your assessment. So look for what I'm looking for on each of those. Again, I go through those during the e-sessions and tell you what I'm looking for, but make sure you're referring that as well. And then make sure you're staying on pace. So if you go too far ahead, I will not have covered the information. I see that once in a while, and I admire somebody's energy and their enthusiasm and their work ethic. However, sometimes I see that students are missing the mark. They're missing what I'm actually looking for, and a lot of times they need to do some revisions. So if you get too far ahead, that can be a disadvantage as well. And also, you certainly don't want to lag. You don't want to get behind. You'll see that little snowball effect. You don't want that happening to you. So how is your grade determined in Family and Consumer Sciences classes? So you need to pass all learning targets with an approaching or better. So at the end of the class, I go through your summative grades. Those get averaged, and you need to have an approaching or better to pass. Those learning target scores are combined using that grading matrix, and those determine the course grade for the semester. So that's an eAchieve grading matrix. If you have any questions, I know last term, out of all my students, one student sent me an email and thought that I had incorrectly used the matrix. So if that ever happens, make sure that you are respectfully reaching out to a teacher. The student that I'm referring to sent me the kindest email that really stood out to me, asking me to take a look at it again and clarified, and was supported their position as to why they thought I had it wrong. Really, really appreciated that. With all the grades, that can happen. A teacher can make an error, so make sure that you are responsible for it, and that you're checking that. Another really important piece is academic honesty. So your assessments and assignments are submitted in a certain way so that your assignments go through Safe Assign. So that's a plagiarism check. So I have had to do that a number of times, where I've had to report it to the school, and I've had to notify students that their work mirrored an online source, or I have seen another student source. So all of these things are verified. Make sure you do your own work. Another thing I will tell you is that in my teaching experience, one time I had a student who had another student offer their work, and provided it to that student, and I noticed it was different, that it was the same. It came up in my Google Drive that way, and honestly, the student, when they redid it, had done much better work on their own. So that's often the case. I told that student, your work was the best work. So make sure that you're doing that as well. Your work is always your best work. And then make sure that you understand eAchieve's academic honesty policies. Those are really important. There are grown-ups that have lived their whole life with that bad mark on their reputation when they plagiarize something. So that is really, really important. It's also not fair to the other person who did that work. So again, make sure you understand that policy and you're following it. And then there you have it again. Just do your best. So I welcome you again to class. I'm so glad to have each and every one of you. If you have any questions, be sure to email me, and let's have a great semester together.